All right, welcome back to another episode of Watch Me Code. I found it quite helpful for me to just sit here and ramble and motivating for me as well to make this stream. So I hope that I don't torment you too much by forcing you to watch this stream. Not that I'm forcing anybody. You can close the tab and move on with your life. But hey, you want to watch? Enjoy. So today on Watch Me Code, we're delving deeper into this availability feature that I was working on the last time. I've made some progress off screen, as the saying goes. But let's dive into where we're at now. Last time we were looking at the back-end models. Now we're going to look at the UI and work on the UI some. I've already prepped with some test data here put on this schedule, although we're not really working with the scheduled events, just so we can get easily to this file here. This is what the employees would have access to, but as administrators, we can also access this. This view is the employee schedule widget in React. In our React component library, let me turn the music down just a hair. Let's pause that actually. Yep, all right. So this is, as I was saying, the employee schedule widget. This widget here is their upcoming schedule, not as important for what we're doing with the availability. I have gone ahead and added this availability / time off, and I've taken care to ensure that it will work well reactively in the mobile views. And so you can see just using Chrome's built-in emulation to see how that looks, make sure the UI responds appropriately, tabs fit. Now I haven't really proceeded or succeeded to have anything show up here yet. I've got just the basic structure of stuff in here, and we do have the availability endpoint working, which is nice, but there is absolutely no data in there for us to even look at. So we've got the availability endpoint there. So the task here is now to decide how I want the UI to actually work. It's really up to whatever I think will work best. I don't have a particular plan going forward into this, but I have looked at understanding, well, where did I put that? Thank you. I was looking at how this other app, When I Work, nicely done guys, did their mobile view, and I'm going to leave this calendar up top for a future state. I've deemed it not absolutely critical to the functionality. However, I'm going to go with some sort of a list view. So this list view is sort of what I'm aiming to work from. And I'm going to see if I can actually do this. Let's see, can I do this in real time? I don't know. I'm going to see if I can save this. Save that and then go over to my studio if I can quickly add something as an overlay. Probably not. I think that has to be as a banner or something like that. Yeah, not important. Absolutely not important. You get the idea. So let's see here. What am I trying to do? Turning off that banner is what I'm trying to do. That's right, hide that. Thank you. All right, you get the idea. The end state is something along this line, which provides the CRUD UI for adding. Now, one thing I'm not going to do right now in this current version of availability is make it so it can be repeatable. Repeatable. Oh, that's not where I wanted to say. Actually, is that here? Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm not going to implement repeats right away. That'll be another future state, mainly because it's going to be quicker to not have that. Although it may be a simple add, I'm not going to do it right now. My end state, my goal is to just create a modal that pops up and allows the employee to choose between these three options, which we reviewed in the data model in the last episode, which is I'm unavailable and prefer to work. And in our model, we're going to have requesting off from work in here. It'll be either all day or for a specific time range. And the end date won't matter here. We'll use date start and then set date start and date end to contain the end of the time range if it's not all day. And the note will fit in our comments. And this request time off, we'll just merge that here with some help text. And I just remembered that we will want to add this sort of a setting which will vary organization to organization on how long they require notice to request off. And so I'm going to have to think through how I want to do that. I forgot. I read that, forgot. Remembered again just now. So that's where we're at right now with this. So that's the end state we're working towards. We've got this UI set up already. This is just a nice little calendar. Another thing that will be added in the future is, instead of this being a calendar drop down, I'm going to have it eventually, not in this episode, be a list box, which is just going to be the months and the year. So for 2024, January through February, because a full calendar doesn't make sense. I've made the choice for this tab, the available time off tab, to load data on a month range. If you can see here, I think there's one more. I'm loading from the start of the month to the end of the month, obviously UTC, because the availability, that's what I've decided, is going to be shown in a list on a month range. Maybe once we have the calendar up, in fact, actually that will correlate nicely with the calendar view if we ever do display the calendar view. So without further ado, let's dive into the actual code. So this upcoming schedule list, that was for a ticket I was working on or showing somebody else. What did we call that? I forget where we were at. Oh, that's right. Employee user availability widget. All right, great. Let's look at that. Make this a bit smaller. Don't need a billing account. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Yes, our get availability list. Okay. You know what? Sometimes it's easier to design a UI with some data in it. So let's go ahead and pop back over to our backend endpoint. Let me show you how I would do that. So our backend endpoint takes these properties to add. Did I not do that? Submit request. Oh yeah, I remember talking about that in the previous episode, but not actually using that. All right, let's reason through this for a second. If we're submitting the request, it will modify the status. That's right. We're going to modify the status back to status. So if a user is submitting the request, if it's status of the draft, it'll go back to requested. That's what it was. Okay. If we're working on this, if they includes that, so if they're not an administrator, we're throwing an error. If they are administrator and it is not requested, we're going to throw an error. Okay, let's add another case inside here. If actually, that's what we're going to do. Let's see, if submit, because anybody can resubmit the request. So yeah, let's do that. Let's do another outer block here. That's what we'll use. So that, format that. And then what are we wanting to do? We're wanting to change the status. Do we do something with that later? And change the status back to requested. And the current status isn't draft, so it's already submitted. So we're going to do a patch to change the status. Yeah, we can do that. Going to status back to requested. Great. Okay, so we don't need to guard the error here. We just add to the patch. Well, we want to flag that later. So this is the error guard. So let's do this. Not submit request and that. So let's do the error guards here. And then later on, we'll do the positive version of this after we upsert. And I like to reuse endpoints whenever possible. So I'm going to reuse the, what we call it, change status. Yes, we did. So we're going to rely on our ES import, change availability status, which that didn't import change availability. Any day now, ES, VS. This is annoying. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to quit code, reload code, which that sometimes fixes the resolution plugin, whatever you call that. Let's see if that's fixes it. Yeah, see? But it hasn't picked up our local code yet. No, we're going to just do this import because I don't feel like messing with that anymore. And I've set up myself a keyboard shortcut to force it to run prettier, which obviously it's not going to do that because I have a code error down here. But yeah, I do a command shift and apostrophe, that apostrophe. And that forces the run of prettier. So it's a useful little tool. All right, so change availability status is pulled over here for reference. We're just passing that stuff there. So I'm in authorization here and forcing it. Everybody can go back to requested. Did we adjust that? Let's fill that in and check that. Did I import that properly? Oh, commented out. Hello. There. Submit request, status requested. Nice job, Copilot. Props to you, buddy. All right, let's check on that. Do we say the transitions have to be right? We did. We went through that in the previous video. Okay, cool. So no problems there. No need to pass force on that. So we're all good. That's going to submit the request, and in a future world, we'll actually send out the notifications. Did I not leave myself a note? Oh, that's right. It's going to be inside that that we send notifications. All right. That does that. Submitting the request. Great. Now we came back in here for something else. We came in here to actually manually upsert some availability. First things first is I want to know the user ID that I'm upserting for. That is right here. But let's do this. So we have this helper here. A helper I created a while ago. And this helper basically wraps us in a bunch of helpful utilities. It generates this authorization structure, so we can use that. It makes a logger that prefixes it with the name of the current script. And importantly, if we pass along this file name, which is the absolute path of the file, it will only run this main code block if we're directly executing this file, not if it's imported as another module, which is great for testing it and leaving the code there. So what we're going to do is build up a request structure. And again, splitting to the right so I can have the properties in front of me. ID is going to be null because we're upstream creating new ID. Is deleted when we pass that. User ID is that one we copied. Date start. Let's set that for, let's see, what's today? We're going to make that 4/24, March 1st. Let's make it March 2nd. That's easy to remember. All day, true. And that'll just give us something to look at, something to play with. Let's go ahead and make one that's not all day as well. Just, well, yeah, one thing will be enough to test rendering. We can always come back here again if we want to do it again. So all day, comments, fish, repeat rule not necessary, type, yes, what type? Can we import that? How do we not import that? We should have checked that. Oh my. Oh my. Type. We should validate that. Hello. No validation of types. What type of lunatic am I? So let's check that. Let's throw an error, please. Thank you. What's that error for? Oh. Preferred. Okay. All right. ESLint is happy with our status check. That's awesome. Now we just, please, Copilot, make our code. Lovely. And now we run terminal, focus terminal. Thank you. Copy the absolute path, and then I have this little alias NE, which does all this for me. Pass in the full path, and that'll create our availability structure for us. So we will have all that stuff in a moment. lucky. We have an error. What did I do? I messed up. That's what I did. Of course. Rookie mistake. We need to make sure it's the values. Go back there. Cursor control. Object.values. There we go. That is what we want. Thank you. Let's see that create, that beautiful thing. Now what don't you like? Can't do structure property stats with this. Oh, hello. I'm not destructuring that, of course. Destructuring that, yes. We don't have to guard that because we were already guarding it there. That's going to be created. That's thrown an error there, so that should be good. Let's try this again. Oh, yeah, no, that should work because it'll start as draft there. Okay. Lovely. That worked finally. Third time's a charm. So, in an ideal world, we'll go back to our UI, and this should load our thanks for all the fish on 3.2. Let's test that out and see if that actually works. There we go. Load that. It's right there. Beautiful. That is just so lovely. Just so flipping lovely. Preview. Thank you. You'll see it loaded that structure there. Giant SQL select adds the status by name, username. If you remember the SQL from the last thing we did a join to get all that stuff there. Our status is proper. And now it's a matter of just updating this UI to render these things the way we want it to, and then eventually adding a CRUD UI to be able to add something there. I do kind of like this drop down here. This is something we use here in the who's working side of things to allow people to contact each other that's working, and that's a nice little modality of drop down. I'm not sure if I want to go with that or pop up a dialogue. Dialogues are more work. Drop down is kind of inline, easier to manage, but I think a dialogue probably is the way to go. It's more common. This is more of an odd UI trope. It worked for this right here, but yeah, I think we'll go with a dialogue. So this is just going to be rendering a display row, no functionality in here, and then clicking it will activate a dialogue. Yeah, I think that's the way we're going to do it. You can see the row is already halfway there, mainly because I literally copied and pasted the code for this page, massaged it, and put it over there. So let's get cracking on that. Close the terminal, go back to our widget, and our availability row right here is already coded. Now, some of the stuff, this row I have not modified yet because it frankly, I just haven't gotten around to it. So we don't need a disclosure. We've already decided that. We're going to just render the upper row, which is going to be the first thing. Let's see, that first div, what is that? That is, okay, that is the disclosure panel. We don't need a panel. We don't need any of that outer div. Great, all right. The button, all well and good. And we actually will use a button. That's the disclosure button at the end, right? The UI won't like us if we don't render like that. So that's day. We don't need to highlight today. Yesterday, are we passing that prop even in on this one? Availability row. Huh, I don't know what I did with that. Doesn't matter. Okay, remove that, remove that. Let's see. Department code, that's not relevant. Let's use one of our regular buttons as a button. Let's make it a button. Not using the custom component button because we just want the style to blend in. As button, that's obviously already a button. Display that date start. So we'll modify this to format it accordingly. Because right now, yes, I know. Thank you. Reload the app, please. What? Disclosure button is missing from print. I thought I removed that. Yeah, you're useless. Let's look back our code. Ah, right there in front of my face. Sheesh. Bigger would bit you. Alrighty, let's see if that works. Lovely. All right, so I'm going to change this display. And just for reference, because I like having a reference of what somebody else did, they're listing it horizontally preferred. Oh yeah, we can use the colored dots to indicate the type. I forgot we had to render the type. So let's render the type. And we don't need to render the name because we're already in his schedule. The name was a holdover from this tab here. So we'll replace the name as a label with the type. And expanding, they are doing that. So we'll need to look at the code for schedule, because what I'm saying is here we fill in every day in the date range and separate out by week, of course, which is not a bad idea. So I might look at what we're doing there and using the CRUD UI, adding that in the date header. Looks good. Time zone, I haven't really got a concept for that yet, so I'm going to ignore that for now. All right, I like that. So let's first get the rendering of the row right there, and then we'll move on to the outer concept of the groupings. So let's get the rendering right here. We don't need that because the whole thing is the button, so we actually can remove the outer wrapper. Lovely, we don't need the outer wrapper at all, really, because that was just wrapping around that. This will trigger dialog for editing, so we'll eventually have to figure out the dialog trigger, but not right this second. This will replace type. Thank you. And to start. If we're grouping it, we don't need to display the date, right? Yeah, that's just a time. So we're assuming we're grouping it. That was some nice padding. What padding do we lose on that? Padding. Yep. Put that back in here. I'm gonna I just like that because it's easier to chunk out CSS we don't use. Leave that there. Row, not crow. There we go. Over a row, please. Thank you. And let's establish colors for our availability types. We'll define it as an enum. We have chart colors here, and the convention was green for preferred, gray for unavailable. Let's do red for request off. Let's you know what? I think, should we make it a client-side case? Because if we define it as raw hexadecimal, we won't have good. We'll have to manually do the adjustments from dark to light. But as a color, it won't really matter if it's just an indicator color, not using text on top of it. You know what? For simplicity's sake, let's just define it as color, move on with life. So let's go back to our work enums, and let's define that as a type status labels. Nice try though, Copilot. Nicely done. And then give me that. No, not quite. I mean, yes. Gray. I do like gray better. I like their convention of gray. But let's actually define our proper colors and pull this hex over here. Where that red? No, that was going to be request off. Yeah. And then I'll comment what that is. TW red 600. Yep. Copilot. Well done. And then our gray. I don't have the gray in here. Yes, Shiza. Well, you know what? I do have the Tailwind config data. We have this generated file which we make. Oh, come on now. I know I have that file there. Thank you. There's our grays. I knew you were around here somewhere. All right. Yeah, come on, code. That is TW. Come on, figure it out. No, was that 700? I thought I copied 600. that's 600. Don't trust Copilot all the time. Double check your work, kids. TW green 500, and I'm going to make it green 600. And go back to our chart colors. And we're going to use 600. And beautiful. Now we can use this to pull in based on type. All right, and we have another dot widget which I can use here. Online status indicator. Let's see what we have customizable in that. Is online background blah 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 blah. Do we want to patch this in and do something, or do we want to just copy the? We're going to copy the styles. We're just going to copy and paste. And there could be some tangential reusability of that, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. H2 was the good circle size. Let's do H3. We can always change that later. And then SR only, we'll put data.type. And we'll do that. Now we just need to patch in our color. Background was the prop. So color. Style. Type. It's late. My brain's just not working there. Perfect. Did you not import, you silly goose? Dude, where's our enums? Well, that's just annoying. Sometimes it is great when the autocomplete works, the auto import works, and sometimes it's just really freaking annoying that it doesn't work. Okay, that should work, but background color. That will do that. We have a gap to separate this there. So that's that. That's that. Let's take a look at the rendering, see what we're doing. Looking kind of good, but the justification needs to be done. That should fix that. Come on, thank you. I don't like the time being bold like that. Well, first of all, this is an all-day event, so let's get that straightened out first. Not data all day. One thing, and then we'll do another thing. Blah 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 blah. Great. Okay. What are we doing here? We're doing all day. Let's just do this. Because remember, we're not actually wanting to show the day because we're going to be grouping the data. So that should just pop over to say all day here. Reload the page. Come on. Wait, did that not come through properly? Oh my. Let's see. What's that coming through as? I thought I said all days. I thought I said that. Oh, how do you like that? Let's check the code. What was it? Upsert availability. I did say all date. Hello, Brian. Okay. What was the idea of that? Let's modify that in SQL right now. Yes, I know. All that. All day. What did I call the table name? Avail. Did I just do the singular version? I did. Trying to be too smart. Dangerous. Availability. VAILABIL. Why? Thank you. All right. Reload that. Reload base. All day. Lovely. All right. And as we saw before, the timing was rendering. Now let's invert that just to double check the time display. And all right, that is displaying still correctly. And let's see, that is still data value, which is going to be that. Well, let's just remove that because we don't really need all the CSS that brings. Come on, why is my tab? Everything's weird. Come on, show me that. Thank you. All right, that font weight is better. Now, because it is all day, I'm going to put that back to the right thing. Let me do this over here. That's that. Okay. All right. Now, rather than reinvent the wheel, we're just going to go look at and see what the code was that does this grouping for us. So let's do that. We've got this rendering good. Got this rendering. The button needs to be wider. Well, first let's fix that button, because if you look at that, the button itself is not expanding the whole way. So if we do this, that should, yep, that does it. Great. So modify that class. That doesn't really matter. Now, eventually, remember, we have to come back in here for the trigger. But right now, we're getting the list render, but that's just coming in. So, upcoming schedule list. Merge table. That's where we're modifying that. Let's see here. Use group list helper. Well, isn't that fancy? I didn't realize I had a group list helper. Well, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back, as my mother would say. And then we fill in any grouped days that are missing. Let's make a custom little hook out of this here. So let's refactor this code, because we basically want to reuse this entire thing. Grouped equals fill in use days, fill in days, fill in missing group days. Sure. Yeah. Yep. So that's our hook signature that we want to fill. Now I'm going to paste it up here just for ease of use. Now we'll use VS Code's export file feature in a second. So I'm going to use fill and go, and then we're going to raw, basically taking advantage of the Prettier's underlying missing variables to spot check our code. And then we're just going to return the value of this memo, because this is really reusing this logic, and nothing is specific to the schedule list itself, because this format here is coming from the use grouped data helper. And you can see a note there. Everything looks good. Honestly, this could be, what's that? Delete part for next row. Great. That's going to come with us. I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to put this inside this, because that way we don't, when we do this move to new file function, if I left that outside, it would have added an automatic export. We would import a new file. By putting this in here, since I know it's only used here, let's double check that. Before I say it, let's double check. Yeah, it is only used here. And it comes along with it sort of as a rider function, a helper function. So we're going to move this to a file. That's great. Now we're going to go over here and then move that back out, because we really don't need it in there. It's just a helper function. Drop there. That's great. And you can see VS Code brought in all these helpful imports from the other file, and anything that wasn't used, it would have removed it. So then we're going to put this next to wherever we found the other one. Where was it? Use grouped list helper. And because it's such a nice little generic helper and also mimics the same data format, I'm going to drop that right there. And VS Code will helpfully update that. And now it doesn't know that we just pasted it there. So I'm going to put that right there next to it. But then also our other file, use upcoming schedule list, should have done that. Now it's going to give us a relative path. So I don't like relative paths if I can avoid, especially deep paths like that. And because we've already modified our React to allow us for absolute imports from the components folder, we're going to do that. So the functionality in this file should be maintained. We removed some lines from that to make it reusable in our other folder. Now let's take other widget. Now let's take a look at how we're rendering that, because honestly, I don't remember. Okay, data grouped. Why is this output here? Oh, okay. Last rendered week. Yes, Josiah, you were hackish. But hey, if it works, it's not bad. And this does work. I don't feel too bad about this even now. I'd probably do the same thing again because this is going to be reset every render, and it's just a way of keeping state in the render, and that is known to be discarded at the next render. So yeah, looks good to me. So let's first go over and merge in this code. A merged table. We already have a table. We don't need to merge that. We're going to use the raw table. This was just merging in. What were we merging in? We're calling it merged table. It's not really a merged table. We're reformatting. Oh, we're inflating it into a structure that will work for rendering code. The rendering code that we expected to have like that. Anyways, it looks like something I was doing that was pretty easy. Modified table, sure, whatever. Nomenclature does not really matter right this second. So get rid of that, go away there, get assignments. Let's see. That's not what we want either. Let's go back to our user availability widget. So we've got this row here. So this is the nitty gritty here. And then we've got this lovely little list rendering here, which we're going to pretty much totally redo. And this is a paged SWR, right? Yeah, so we need a paging control down here. How do I not have that already? I need to update whatever I took that from the today view. Yes, I do need to do that because pagination would not work if you get over 100 or whatever the default employees, 50 employees are. Good thing this is not live yet. All right, so let's modify that real quick. So this use paged SWR, use page data, it's a custom hook I created way back when. And it relies on a pagination control. No, not that. Oh, what was it called in here? I saw down here. Please hold while I scan my code. Paging trigger. Thank you. Basically, I want to do that. But since I have something else already in my copy buffer, I'm going to use that. Control equals control. Basically, this just renders some utility stuff that listens for when this comes in view and then triggers it to load more. Not really worth going into. Let's see here. Okay, so here we've got our employee list. We're not modifying this file. We don't need a reason about this one. That's good. We're just fixing that bug there. All right, and we've already got the paging trigger. No, we need to add the paging trigger to our user availability widget. So let's add that. The control is passed out of the use paged data SWR. So that's good. So now let's get in here. Change day, that's navigation, getting the availability. And so here's this raw list. We're going to rename that because we're rendering the availability row. I don't want to rename that. I'm going to leave that as is because we're going to rewrite the rendering code anyway. So let's put in those hooks there. So let's import that. Use group list helper. Date start is the proper name. Availability is the data source. Group by date is proper. Let's fill it in. That's great. And that'll automatically take the first and last days. But let's see, can we add an end date? Because since we know this view is rendering the full month, and we want to use this as CRUD per day, so we need to add, make sure it's filling in the entire month. So the end cursor is going to be this here. And then we'll just make a new prop. That's all we'll do. Easy enough. And then we'll set that to the end of the month. That's easy, and it starts on the original value. Actually, we should start that here too. Date start, date end. And by default, we'll leave those as Yep. Beautiful. So by default, the use and the schedule list will fall back to the data in the table. That's great. But then when we use it in our other file, availability widget, we'll pass explicit props. So let's do that. And notice we're doing date start here based on start date of the month, end date of the month. We're just gonna, we should make those reusables. Yeah, crikey. Passing in this date. Let's do that. All right, let's do that. Let's do it. Basically, we need to memorize that because I don't want to copy and paste that code and in two different spots. So turn that, make that a memo. Come on. Okay. What's the code? Blah, blah. That's that. Where's your prettier air? Thank you. All right, so we've got the dates. This date needs to know what the date is. What date was that? That date was coming from here. Current month. Great. Okay. That's why we weren't having dependencies. That's great. So now we can do that. Paging props will pass that in. We can put in dates. That's great. Those will fall through to paging props. That's great. So let's test our assumptions and make sure that works after we do the rendering code. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we don't need to worry about that just yet. Let's stop right here and test and make sure that that memo is working by making sure those dates work. Let's reload that. Okay, network. For right, it should have just loaded the date. Payload still should be that. Yeah, great, excellent. All right, uncomment that code, and then we can just expand the dates there. Data grouped, perfect. So now, theoretically, if we log this, that should give us a nice, yep, perfect. And whatever day that was, I have no clue what day that is. Well, right there, it looks like we've got something different. Yep, and there is our group data. Yes, love it when stuff works that clean. Code reuse is a beautiful thing. Okay, so let's make the rendering widget. Let's do the grouping, and then if we're really lucky, we'll get CRUD up and running tonight. If we're lucky, we'll see. So let's do the grouped code here. Sorry, I'm totally bad at looking at the comments. Brianna asked where the local code is. And thank you, Bill. Go mauve. I assume you were talking about my colors for the dots. I should have the comments tab up here. Sorry about that, guys. Bri, I'm not sure what you were talking about for the local code, but I'm assuming you're asking where local code is as like where I'm storing it. It is just stored on my Mac, but the code itself is all running off of my MacBook. And then I'm posting it to GitHub, where the code is stored and archived there. Feel free to clarify if that doesn't answer. I apologize if I'm missing the mark there. Side note, love having a Nest thermostat because it's getting warm in here, so I just turned down for my phone. Love it. Okay, let's see here. What we're doing, grouped UI. So let's, again, remember the target is to basically do this grouping here, where we say that show the dates, and then the rows are rendered like that. So we've already got a row widget. Let's just add the grouping headers. So for that, we can largely just reuse, let's see, reuse the code from that other view. Upcoming schedule. And so we've got those several hundred lines. Validating loading bar, sure. So where are we going? Down here. All right, there's our loading bar. Nice little choice to show us being circle, the rendering of the row, and the empty message. So really what we want to do is not do that, not run that code. Insert our extra code here, format that, and then let's dig in. So we know we want to use the availability row, so we're going to replace the internal rendering of that right here. And the today ref is today. Highlighting that's not important to me. That's where that is today came from. So let's copy and paste the code a couple times. We don't need that, although it's nice to know that's what we're doing. We're checking that. We can always go back and revisit that code later if we need to. Last render of the week, we need to declare that. Okie dokie. Fragment comes from React. Import that. Group week header. Where's that coming from? Let's go back. Aha. It's just a nice little thing there. And we'll customize that. We may not elect render. We'll render the heading weeks TBD. I'm kind of in favor of that, but we'll see. Let's just see what we're doing here. Style basic group list header. I know that was something we already have. Okay, this was. Okay, that was shifting over to the view for today, and that's not what we want to do. We're going to use our today view. Yeah, we're going to use that. Yeah, we're going to use that to do the CRUD up. Certainly, the style is a little bit better. So that's good. We have our on-click handler here. We can comment that out because that's not the action we're going to do. We're going to use that to open dialog. But we want to put an action button at the end. What's this doing here? End content, displaying really heavily styled something or other today and chevron right. Okay, indicating that it's clickable, whatever. Really, this is where I kind of want to put the button here, but TBD, because that, by doing a chevron, that indicates that's going to expand the list, which is not what we want. All right, let's leave that as TBD. Styled card, group list, rows map. Got it, good. On update, so that's implying that the form is there. We're going to expose rather the dialog trigger to that, so like an on-click handler, so we're not going to pass the on update. And no availability listed for this date. TBD if we need to actually put this text there. And why we did that instead of styled hint, not really sure. Not going to worry about it right now. We don't need that. We're gonna hide that right there since we're rendering the dates. We don't necessarily need this empty state text. Okay, this is looking good. Let's see how that renders. Great. Renders, but we have an error here, unique key. So where do we render? First of all, we've got our key here. That's great. Where's our key here? Row key. Interesting. Let's do that. Sure. All right. I also don't like the styling we're getting here. So this week is great. The week of whatever. Love that. But I don't like. Let's try undoing the rounding and check the margins on that and see what's going on here. What's going on here? Style basic group list header. Wow, that's a lot. Are we rounded in here? Nope, that's not rounded. Oh, that's where we're rounded. No rounding, please. Thank you. Let's see if we can. Where's that padding coming from? I don't like that padding. That might be a spacing. What's going on here? Okay. That was unhelpful. Drop me in closer, please. Yeah, cool. So we got that. That must be some sort of a gap. What's going on here? Okay, we've got that. Oh, is that a card thing? What's the outer wrap here? Group week header. Aha. Found you. Collapse. Ooh, that is horrible. What was going on there? So that's gapping that. That does that. We're pulling up the margin here, but stop that. Stop it. Okay, that seemed to be useful. Okay, so why are we doing that? Group week header. Why is the gap bothering us? Something is hinky. Let's not render the group header. See if that fixes it. When in doubt, just really do weird stuff, apparently. This might be the culprit because there's a lot of styles going on there that I'm not tracking yet. So reload that. What happens there? Okay, that's better, but there's still some weird gaps here. What is going on? I wonder if that's causing it, because that as list can do weird things sometimes. No. Oh wait, here did we have a list wrap on the other widget? Did we? Come on, talk to me. No, we just had that. Okay. Let's see if that is the card itself is causing some problems. Let's undo what we undid. And let's remove that styled card. That's just really weird that it would be doing that. Remove that. Let's replace with a fragment just to hold the indent so it doesn't really mess with my eyes. Let's reload that. That looks shockingly normal. And now all of a sudden the rounding does make sense. Now we have too much of a gap here, I think. Let's see. I'm just not liking this view totally, but that can be adjusted later. Okay. This is good so far. We're getting there. I'm not going to mess with gap as much and worry about that. I'm more concerned about getting the CRUD functionality in here. That is, for those of you who don't know, if you've never heard that pronounced before, that's CRUD, all uppercase. It's an acronym for create, read, update, and delete. It's reference to the standard things you do with objects and data. That's just basic functionality. You create an employee, you update employees' details, you read employee, look at it, and then you delete them. That's just basic action. So when I say CRUD, I really mean just I want to be able to edit, upsert, and delete it. Because obviously we can read it right here, but really all four of those actions be done in a single dialog. And I really think that highlights more of a conceptual thought of I want to do something with this, create it, update, and delete it. So we'll be creating on the individual days. And if you remember, those are buttons. Let's see if that is a button all the way across. Nice. I really should highlight that header somehow differently, I think. We can nitpick on the UI a bit later. Let's get the functionality in there, and then we can polish that UI. Yeah, let's get the functionality in. One last thing I want to see. Mobile adapts that rounding nicely. All right, so back to the CRUD. Remember that end component here. We're going to put a button there just to see what it looks like. Make sure that it works. Let's see what this does. If we don't like this, we'll make it a full button, but plus circle icon. Let's use that one. See how that looks. That actually looks pretty darn good. I don't like how it's not clear what date we're on, though. I want maybe a hover of something. Let's see if we can quickly add that. Let us do that here. Group list. Grouped is heading that. Style card availability row. How would we want to do that? Can we do this? Group. Well, we would then have to recreate the layout. I wonder if this will work. Let's see if that breaks the UI first and foremost. Nope, no breakage. Okay, so now what we can do is say, and again, my proclivity for CLSX is twofold in that not only does it help you comment stuff out, but it also helps with formatting classes. So we're going to do this group hover. Let's just do 700. Sure, that's dark. And then for light, PG, oh, we need PG gray 100, and then it's not slate, it's going to be gray. Love it. All right, let's see if this works. Nope. That's depressing. All right, I am not going to take too much time more to work on obsessing over that. I'm going to work on functionality. We can always figure out the look and feel a little bit later. In the little bit of time we have remaining, I'd like to end at 9 o'clock Central. I'd like to see if we can tackle that. So first things first, when creating a new dialogue, we need to create a dialogue to either add something or edit something. We already know the fields we're going to target. We're going to target the date, the type, all day, or a specific time range. So we're not going to allow them to choose a date in the dialogue. And additionally, we'll eventually be able to prove it if they're a manager. Yeah, the manager will be able to prove it in there. All right, so this dialogue will probably not be finished tonight, but we should be able to have the basic CRUD added tonight. So let's get started. A lot of times when I'm creating a new dialogue, I like to think, well, what other dialogues have I done in the app that are similar to this or could be used as a good starting point? I'm just going to visually look at the menu as a refresher because I don't remember right off the top of my head what I've done. So if we're in here, okay, the time list might be a good place to look at. So yeah, that might be a good place. Time clock logs. Yeah, this is a nice little dialogue. I think I'm going to do that. Now, I could just poke around the code and try to remember can't talk today, what file this is in, or I, more often than not, will select a key string from the UI that I want to search the code base for because, again, I am very lazy, inherently lazy. I'm going to search the code base for that, and looky there. Looks like I already copied that dialog once for editing the assignment. Let's see. And since editing the assignment, here's my thinking. I'm going to actually copy the edit assignment dialog. I think, no, not going to do that. More complex. As I say, because it's newer code, might be better, or might be more thought through, but it is thought through, just going in a very specific direction for something I don't want to do. So I'm going to go back to this edit time clock dialog, which is a very simple dialog, relatively speaking. It's going to load the data itself that it wants to use using the endpoint. Destructure the prompts, do a little bit of code cleanup, or data cleanup rather. Show a spinner, and then use our simple custom dialog helper, which does the basic, all the dialogue stuff, creating buttons and showing the layout, which in turn wraps the headless UI stuff. It uses headless UI and under the hood and does all the boilerplate class and styles. Again, all this indentation looks horrible, but it's only because I'm zoomed in so far for the stream. So this is all great. Our simple custom dialog does use the use form helper internally, so we pass it a schema and the values we're editing and on submit handler. Really, I should have made this a callback and a memo and a memo and the whole outer thing of memo, which I'm going to do in the next thing. So let's start with copying that. So we're going to just copy that file, go back to the folder that we're in. Thankfully, it updates the tree here. We're going to paste it right here and rename it. So and then we're going to just start hacking apart this code. I forgot to point out that the form itself here is passed in here in this input group content, which is largely irrelevant for you to actually know, but now you know it. Log ID, let's start with that. We're going to reuse, why did that come up? Hello. Use, rename the prop coming in. This was specific to Valley Stands, but we're going to redo this. We're going to make this use. And I believe I use that prop there. Can do that. do pass that in there because we do that to rename the prop. Pass this back in as the cache buster for use SWR, so that should do that. This is availability data, sure, that's that. Yeah, ID. Okay, so we'll pass in this here, and if this is an empty string, we're not actually going to load, which allows us to do the creating. Let's look up the availability structure again just to refresh, because I want to remember what props we're working with. We've got this over here. Great. We have type, date start, date end, all day, comments. Those are the main things we'll be working with for now. So let's destructure that stuff there. Let's see. It wants the user, which is not really that big of a deal. We don't need to show that because it'll be the person. We know where we're at. We don't need that. User, link log. Let's just put these props here. Start, date, end, all day, comments. Status we'll want to display. Status at, status reason. I'm just putting some of these things here, even though we're not going to use them tonight. Great. So what are we doing here? We're taking these strings. Why do we care about that? What are we doing with those strings? Okay, we're passing those in. Okay, we're cutting out the time, which is great because that's exactly what we want to be doing here, because we only want to edit the time, right? Clock in and clock out at. Let's look back at that dialog because I don't remember exactly. Clock in time, clock out. Okay, so it is doing the individual times. Yeah, let's see about this. So we're filtering out the empty strings here, mapping the string, replacing the time component. Okay, that's right. We're zeroing out the seconds and that, which, yeah, whatever. That's not what we really care about. We're going to do the time start. Okay, so we got that. And then this will be, and then we're going to replace everything after that. We just don't really want that. So what we could do is even easier. And that will give us a time component. That's literally that simple. Now, that will be in UTC. Or it should be in UTC. Show, for now, let's make that a future me problem. Yeah, sometimes I won't like myself. That's okay. We'll figure that out in just a little bit. Well, if they're editing a time locally and they're choosing a date, worrying about that a little bit. We'll have to do some conversion there. Okay, let's return these values. Let prettier tell me what it wants. Not relevant. And open, what's that? Oh, it's a full page thing. I forgot I did that. Cool. All right. Icon, color, sure, whatever. Pencil, yeah, whatever. ID. So this is the title for the dialog, which is all well and good, but wait, did I not destructure that property? I didn't. Hello, Brian. All right, that's good. Body type, we'll figure out what we want to put in for the rules later. I'll have to think through this here shortly. Yeah, that's good. We don't need that. Don't need any of that stuff. Okay. day type, and we can make use of our what we call our isomorphic definitions by saying like this: object.keys availability. Beautiful. And then that will just import the availability type from our shared folder and enforce that it must be one of those values. So those are things we're going to do right now. Yes, there's status, and yes, there's comments. Let's put comments here too. All right, and status, I'll always change status. Let's put status in here as a value, and we're going to have to think on the UI part of that. We're going to do the same isomorphic thing. Beautiful. Okay, now let's pass in filter departments. We must have used that for a lookup. Resetting when changes. Log displaying password for server interest. Okay. Sure, we'll put that there. Time start, time end. These are values that will be usable from the form or editable by the form, not just for rendering. Although we are passing the entire form object in, so they can be used for rendering as well. So we're going to pass in our type. What are the values we have? Yeah, cool. So that's that. That's that. That's good. Now remember, we wanted to do this the right way, so let's make this a memo. And we can't do memos conditionally. Values equals use memo. I know, I need to bracket that. Great. Okay, memoized that. Now let's memoize. Now those are out of props. Let's make that into a callback. We do this because if we do pass in that data just as is in a giant object, it's the potential it has shown, and I've seen it have the potential to cause React to re-render that component unnecessarily because the object references themselves are constantly changing every time on every render. So that's why we're so keen on memoizing things. And then we can memoize this outer layer of props. No, we're not going to do that. Unless we really have a problem with rendering, then we will. But we will memoize this schema. In fact, we don't even need to memoize it. That's not conditional. We can just declare it as a static variable up top. So let's do that. Beautiful. See? Isn't that hard? Okay. So this is, let's see. That should do it for this. Oh, we need to modify the saving prop thinking. Work schedule request.upsert availability. Let's see what we're expecting. All right, there we go. Passing through the form data that we submit, which should be just these values here. But now remember, we did modify the date by splitting it out, so we need to recombine the values. So that's good. Don't need that. But we do need to fix the time because we could do that on the on the client of the server. Let's do in the client now. We may decide to move it to the server for time zone correction. TBD. Let's do start. We're going to compute those both for logging, ease of logging. Let's see, anything else we need to modify or massage? No, that should all pass through from the, we'll need to handle that as a UI enhancement. Well, let's get the base functionality down and we can add in these use case specific rules. So where are we getting that from? Let's think through this. So if we're upserting this as starting new, we'll need to have a create on date. Lack of a better name, sure that works. That's only going to be used if it's new. Otherwise, we'll rely on these date starts from availability prop. Yeah, that works good for me. All right, so great. create on date, not availability ID. There we go. All right, now we need to split that out. So we use our helper to parse the date, and then we're going to do this date in case something fails. It's kind of a CYA moment. T.shift. In this case, we're getting the ISO date component there that we can then tack on to make a full date component by doing this. Data. I don't really like that. Let's do this. Because that's probably won't have a seconds component. Although depending on the time widget it might. So for now, let's do that. Let's do this. Nope. That. Yes, thank you. What was this two local time string thing? I don't know why that's there. I'll probably find out shortly when I go to the UI. Let's do date component. I know it's warning me about shadowing. Let's disable shadowing because we're intentionally doing that, and that's okay. Upstream assignment, that should work if we're not passing in that. Yeah, come on. Semicolon. Thank you. Got result. Set open. That's good. Mutate. Yes. Good. On success. If there's a handler. Yes. We should have logged the error already because this would have logged the error. Yes. Okay. Good. Perfect. Looking good. Let's move on. Let's see here. Okay, that all should be working well. Now you'll notice we haven't even gotten to the UI yet. So let's look at the form in the last 7 minutes I plan to do this. There we go. All right. So the form, again, destructures that. For the sake of sanity, I'm going to copy and paste the values we gave it. So I don't have to think as much because I don't like to think more than I have to. I already think enough as it is. That's all well and good. Why are we doing that twice? We're passing it into the ID prop. Don't need that. There's that. That's good. Buddy. On department query. Don't need that. Don't need that. We do need this form. Form time. Yeah. I thought we had a time input. Where's the time input suck? I think the time input sucks. I don't remember. I might have to do some debugging on that. Let's see. Time input. Do that. Where else do we use time input? Blah, 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 blah. Come on, I know we use it somewhere. We have to. Thank you. Location shift setup. Upsert stand department. I know it's working there. So let's just copy and paste that. Yada, yada, yada. Alrighty. That's good. Go away. Go over here. Thank you. Do cost band 6. We don't want to do that. Yeah, let's just use the inner code. And then we do this. Great. Time start. Why we did time start here and start time there, I don't remember, and I don't really care right now. Just have to deal with it. We already structured that, so we can put that there. That's all well and good. We maybe should make that a use callback. I don't know. Right now, no, we will have to prompt for available type. My brain is quickly expiring on the bandwidth I have to think through these large, big picture things. So we're just trying to get through some of the bare functionality. We'll do another pass tomorrow to refine this functionality. So let's just see if we can get clicking on the thing we upserted from the server or from the backend and have it populate this form, and if we're lucky, upsert into it. So what are the fields? We've got the date and time. We need an all-day switch, comments, and status, and everything else will be for another day. So that'll be a nice little comments box. Yeah, we'll use that. Yeah. We should make that conditional based on type. Don't have bandwidth for that right now. We should make that a resizable, auto-resizing text area. Don't have bandwidth for that now. But for now, this will be fine. Don't need a pin. Delete time entry. We can eventually move that into the footer of the row. The dialog does support extra footer content. This does not work. This does work. That works. This was just used for debugging in the past, but we're going to put it in there anyway. Let's see. All day was going to be a switch. What was that? I don't remember how we used that, so let's go and look. Cool. Okay, cool. Help letter. What is the field? All day, yes. All day. And then if it's all day, we hide the other thing. Yep, got it. Don't know if we need to invert. We'll see experientially. I don't think we do. Do we have inside of form? Do we use inside of form? Inside of a style form group. Well, we'll see if we need to. Yeah. We're going to destructure that. Thank you. That should work there. And now we do need to do our final thing. We're going to make a list, a radial list. Now, I want to use a pre-built tailwind component because I don't have a. There's my calendar, everybody. Hi. Yep, that's where we're going to go because I don't want to take the time to think through it all. So, radio. Great. Yeah. Do we have one with notes below it? Yeah, that looks good. Notes below, sure, perfect. Code. And yep, that maps to what we want to do. That looks good. Copy that on the calendar here. Show. This will only be changeable when they're doing the first time around. After that, it'll be just a data display. But for now, we're going to use this. And I'll put that limitation, the read-only limitation in later. So we got that. Do we have type options? Did I really not make type options? Come on, Josiah, dropping the ball here. Yeah. So let's see Copilot. Hey, oh, look at that. Booyah, did we already make that? I swear. Huh. Thought I did. Guess not. Copilot. Love it. Thank you, Copilot. See, this is an example of where AI combined with somebody spot checking and did a really good job saving me. That was probably going to be another 5 minutes of typing. Didn't have to do that. Now we can really use that right here. See? Types options. Well, types. I did make that. I knew I made that. I like type rather than types. So and since I had colors already, I'm going to just keep that. Well, that's why Copilot did so well because I'd already written the code. Yeah. Okay. I prefer destruction most of the time when I'm doing this, but for the sake of speed, I'm just going to go through this right now. I should eventually make this a dark mode thing. Well, okay, I'm being sidetracked right now. Sorry. Oh, because I didn't know that. I was, talking to my imaginary text message. Not imaginary, talking to text message, but not voice replying. So back to what we're doing, label. That's going to be a label, and this is going to be a description. We should make a color dot for that, but that's a tomorrow problem. All right, so now let's quickly get to where we can trigger and see this dialogue, and we'll call it a night. All right, so what do we need to do to trigger this dialogue? Let's see here. We need to embed it, and we need to be able to pass props into it. What did I do there? Must have tabbed over something. Put that up here. Look at that. Go to this. We want to import our availability widget. And then we want to pass in our props. So I'm going to put in, let's see, availability ID is what we would have clicked on. Yeah. Sometimes the ES code does not quite get it right. All right, so we're just going to reuse this same prop, and then, I'm sorry, that's open, is that a Boolean? So open, I'm going to use that. Since there is never actually a set open true call, even though it does say set open, we're going to go ahead and just set that like that. So set that there. I'm going to have to stop the stream here in just a second because I see some urgent notifications I got to respond to. Just want to finish this thought real quick. Set open on success, created on date. Create availability. Yep, and that'll be another state. So this will be a state pair right here. Okay, good. Urgent notification not necessary to handle. So we can get to the end of this here. Great, because somebody else is handling that. Yes. Breathe, Brian, breathe. Okay. So the two states we need is this one and then this one. So let's go up here outside of our conditional. Oh, we don't have conditional render here. That was elsewhere. And Copilot, thank you. Thank you, Copilot. Love it. Yeah. All right, now all we need to do is make an open dialog handler that we can pass down into the that. Oh, that could be difficult. We need, because what I was thinking here is if we, to open the dialog, ID has to be truthy, but if ID is truthy, then we try to load it. So we need to make a third state. Thank you. All right, so we can't reuse that like I wanted to. Then we can just pass this like it's intended to be used like that. So that's all well and good. So let's go back to this state here. That's good. Set availability on date. Parsing that. That's great. Set the ID. All right, that's a good handling of that. Oops. Yeah, we do want to clear the state out, so that's okay to clear that out. Let's hit dialog open. Great. Love it. Now we can pass this down into our row. So on click. If we made a callback there, that could be rendering. Anyways, just do that. No, but it's memwise, so it shouldn't. Oh, but if we create an inline thing, it would. Okay. Let's go into here. Not that, but that's down here. Okay. Show. Yeah, let's do it right here. Thank you, Copilot. And then clicking the date header should do the new thing. But we need to pass in the date. We need to expand that. Got it. So we need to change the signature of this to pass an explicit ID because we also want to pass a prop of a date. Style group header, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to make this a button. And Yep, we have to do that here. We'll do this. And what is the prop for that? I don't remember. Group week none. Let's look back at that help report doing, which shows us where the data comes from. Film missing days. Yeah, let's do that. That is coming from the original value. Yes? Yes, original value. Got it. Okay, so that is grouped at original value. Beautiful. Now let's make sure we modify the signature of this callback accordingly. And we do that date like that. We don't want that. Yeah, that can be a fallback, but really we shouldn't need a fallback. Yeah. That simplifies that. Great. Okay. Theoretically, this UI should be usable as is. Let's see what problems we come into. And then we're going to end this because my brain is about at max capacity for editing. Great. Okay. First problem. We left an import that we didn't see. Why did that not highlight that for us? That's interesting. We should have indicated that. Observability dialog. Okay, let's go back to our schedules. Go back to the gentleman we're working with. And then go back to availability. Open our console. What's the console doing now? Oh, okay. Is the whole outer thing a button? That must be what it is. Oh, the icon. That's what's going on. So what I realized is that this can't be that because the outer thing is that as buttons. We need to move this on click thing here to the outer thing. That should work. Let's do this. Moment of truth. Hey, could be worse. Horrible styling. We need to adjust for dark mode. I think I have a radio somewhere already. I don't remember. All day does do that. Looking good. Looking good. Okay. Delete probably should work. So now if we do this, it should. Oh, well, that's interesting. We shouldn't be having a data lifting spinner there. Why did I do? Let's see here. Huh. I don't know. Either way, we proved out that the dialogue editing at least is minimally functional. We definitely have a lot to clean up, but that is going to be all for tonight because my brain is just absolutely fried. Thank you for sticking with me for this long of a broadcast. If anybody has actually watched this far, an hour and a half. Yep, that's about what I've predicted my work blocks are. Anyway, we're going to commit these changes, but I'll do that off the stream. Thank you all for watching and have a great night.